नमस्ते, मैं हूं अपर्णा
और मैं मनोज.
नेपाल में आपका स्वागत है.
The plan is for us to spend 10 days in Nepal without doing any hikes. How that is possible you might ask, or not, but I'm going to tell you anyway. We're going to spend 2 days at the great Darbar squares of Kathmandu, Bhaktapur, Patan, etc. And then we are going to spend a day driving to Pokhara. Then 2 days to visit the most famous Vishnu temple outside of India, Muktinath. Then we'll fly down to Lumbini to visit Buddha's birthplace, and then we'll end our trip at the Chitwan National Park. And the B-roll that you guys saw while I was talking is all in our future. So we have no idea what you saw. Hopefully they were good. By the way, Nepal is not on IST, that is Indian Standard Time. It is 15 minutes ahead of India. So you have this strange feeling when your body thinks it's 4 o'clock, but the clock says it's 4:15. The jet lag. Well, drinking a lot of water helps you overcome that.
Good morning, so it's day 1 from Nepal. Today we are in Kathmandu. So all the sights of Kathmandu we'll be seeing today.
Our day did not start under bright sunshine as the introduction suggested. It started under the cover of darkness. We woke up at 5 a.m. today to visit the most famous Hindu temple in Nepal, the Pashupatinath. The first reference to the temple in any historic written records is around 400 AD, but a temple of some sort existed far before that. As the visual suggests, this is not a single temple but a complex of religious structures, half of which are Buddhist stupas. Pashupatinath was the first of the many religious sites that we visited in Nepal that is considered sacred by both the Hindus and the Buddhists. The high degree of religious tolerance between Hindus and Buddhists praying at the same site, following completely different rituals without bothering each other, seems quite unique to Nepal. Walking around the atmospheric complex, witnessing the sunrise over these timeless edifices with the whole place reverberating with chanting was a wonderful way to kickstart our trip to the country. Now, back to the Darbar Square. Here is a short history behind these famous squares. One Malla dynasty ruled Nepal from 1201 to 1779. During their initial phase, in 1345 to be precise, the Bengal Sultan Samshuddin Ilyas Shah paid a visit, invaded, and destroyed everything in sight. So we really don't have any idea what used to be here in these squares before this invasion. Everything that you see today is built by the Mallas after this destruction. In 1482, after the death of then reigning king Yaksha Malla, the kingdom got divided into 4 and each of the sub-kingdoms built itself a Darbar square. That is why we have so many Darbar squares in and around Kathmandu. A Darbar square, by the way, is an ensemble of royal palaces and temples dedicated to their favorite gods. Seen here is the tallest structure in the Kathmandu Darbar Square, Taleju Bhavani Temple, dedicated to and named after Tulja Bhavani of Tuljapur in Maharashtra. The history behind how the goddess near our home became the patron goddess of Nevari people is a bit uncertain. After a quick lunch, we headed to the Narayan Hiti Palace. Built in its present form in 1963 by King Mahendra, the interior oozes with opulence. Unfortunately, this is the only picture of it that you are allowed to take. If you are here in Kathmandu, don't ever miss it. We ended the day at the 2 great stupas of the city. First, the Bauddhnath Stupa. It is the largest stupa in Nepal and was probably built around 600 AD by the Lichavi king Shivadeva. Lichavis used to rule Vaishali in Bihar, and Lichavis of Nepal were probably related to them. They ruled Nepal between 450 and 750 AD. There is a ring road that goes around the Bauddhnath Stupa, and that ring road is lined with lot of shops, restaurants and monasteries. On top of these shops are rooftop restaurants from which you can get the stunning views of Bauddhnath Stupa. We picked the one that gave the best view given the time of the day. We ended the day at the Swayambhunath Stupa. The name means self-created. It comes from the Swayambhu Purana, which states that the Kathmandu valley was once entirely filled by a lake, out of which sprung a lotus. Swayambhunath apparently burst forth from this lotus. Historically, the stupa probably was created in the middle of the 5th century AD by the Lichavis, and it competes with Pashupatinath as being the oldest religious place of worship in the country. Since Swayambhunath sits on top of the hill close to the city center, the place offers one of the best views of the city, especially during the sunset.
We spent 3 nights at Kathmandu at the Oasis Kathmandu Hotel. It is a very clean and decent hotel, and the hotel is located at Thamel. Thamel region is the heart of Kathmandu, where all the shopping and most restaurants offering Western cuisines are there. So we ate a very nice Italian meal at one of the restaurants here. Hello everyone, so it's day 2 from Nepal. Today we are going to see towns closer to Kathmandu, and we are at the first stop at the Chengu Narayan temple.
Changu Narayan is another Hindu cum Buddhist temple and another that competes for the oldest religious site title. This temple's claim comes from the fact that it houses the oldest inscription in Nepal, the 464 AD inscription of the Lichavi king Manadeva. All the sites that we are visiting today, combined with Bodhnath, Pashupatinath and Swayambhunath from yesterday, form a single UNESCO World Heritage Site. Changu Narayan sits on top of a hill and Bhaktapur is in the valley 7 kilometers downhill from it. Everything that you see today in the Darbar Square is built by the Malla kings between the 14th and the 18th centuries. The main square houses 4 temples that represent the Char Dham temples of India: Dwaraka, Puri, Badrinath and Rameshwaram. This golden gate takes you to the Royal Palace complex, which is still under reconstruction from the damage caused by the 2015 earthquake. The highlight of the square are the 3 pagoda-style temples with life-size sculptures that adorn the stairways. First is the Siddhi Lakshmi temple built in 1695 by a Jayamitra Malla. Second is this larger and more impressive Silu Mahadeva temple, and we don't know who built it or when it was built. The third is the grandest temple in Bhaktapur, the Nyatapola temple. It is about 33 meters in height and is located in the square adjacent to the main Darbar Square. The 2 statues at the bottom are of 2 famous 18th century Rajput wrestlers, Jayamal on the left and Pratap on the right. The temple was built by Bhupendra Malla in 1702. Next up, the grandest Darbar Square in Nepal, the Patan Darbar Square. It is considered to be the pinnacle of Newari architecture. Most of what you see was built in the early 17th century by the Malla kings. On the right side of the main street is the Royal Palace, and you can see a couple of its courtyards, or chowks in Nepali. On the left side of the street are the main temples. The temples all face eastwards towards the palace. The main temples are Krishna temple built in 1667 by King Siddhi Narasimha Malla, Vishwanath temple built in 1627 by the same King Siddhi Narasimha Malla, and Bhimsen temple built in 1680 by his son Srinivasa Malla. The Royal Palace houses a museum today, and it is one of the best in Nepal. The biggest draw of the Royal Palace is the Sundari Chowk. It has the finest carvings in all of Nepal, and its walls just explode with exquisite sculptures. Half a kilometer or so from the Darbar Square is the less visited Hiranyavarna Mahavihar, popularly known as the Golden Temple. This golden pagoda of Sakyamuni Buddha was built in the 12th century by King Bhaskar Varman. By the way, here is the map of today's driving route. We ended the day at Kirtipur. It houses a couple of famous temples. First is this 16th century Bhag Bhairav temple, which houses the sword used by Prithvi Narayan Shah during his conquest of Kathmandu. I will talk about him more on day 3. The second temple is this photogenic Uma Maheshwar temple. This was built in 1655 by one of the sons of Siddhi Narasimha Malla.
Hello everyone. So it's day 3 from Nepal. Today we are driving from Kathmandu to Pokhara Valley. And on the way, we have stopped at a town called Gorkha, and we are at the Gorkha Darbar.
Kathmandu to Pokhara is an all-day drive, and the town of Gorkha comes roughly at the halfway point. The roads are quite bad, but the scenery was quite beautiful. Gorkha was the birthplace of Prithvi Narayan Shah, one of the greatest kings of Nepal. When he took over Gorkha, the country of Nepal was divided into 24 kingdoms, known as the Chaubisi Rajya. Between 1743 and 1768, he conquered every one of those Chaubisi Rajya and united Nepal under a single kingdom and founded the Kingdom of Nepal. That kingdom lasted till 2008 when the country became a republic. Let's now take a break from history and talk about food instead.
The highlight of our Nepal trip was the food, and that is why we are dedicating a section to it. The best dish in Nepal is the thakali thali, and sometimes known as the dal bhat. Thakalis were the well-to-do castes of Nepal, and they originally belonged to the Mastang region. Their cuisine is considered to be the best in Nepal, and their typical thali is meat-based, but they do have a vegetarian version. It has a portion of rice, dal, and some vegetable side dishes. The dishes had very little oil and spices and was as close to homemade food as you get outside. So we could eat this day in and day out without getting tired. The only downside is that we could rarely try anything else and hence did not try other local dishes. But we did occasionally try the famous momos, and they were quite good as we imagined.
This is our hotel room in Pokhara. Hotel Splendid View. And the toilet. And that's the splendid view from the Splendid View Hotel.
Good morning everyone. So it's day 4 from Nepal. We are in Pokhara now, and we will be driving to Muktinath today, and I'm standing next to the Feva Lake.
By the way, today is February 14th, so it's a Valentine's Day, and like a nice Sanskari couple, we are off to Muktinath. This is one Bajrang Dal approved trip. We did not get all the way to Muktinath today. We only got as far as Jomsom, where we spent the night. So I will talk about Muktinath on day 5 and talk now about the stuff we saw on the way. The first stop was at the Gandaki Golden Footbridge. Nepal has some fantastic footbridges. This one is 567 meters long and 122 meters above the ground. When it was built in 2020, it was the world's longest footbridge. Now it is the third longest after the ones in Czech Republic and Italy. The second stop was at this Beni Shiva temple. It is a pair of temples, one built in the Nevari Nepali style and the other in the South Indian style. We also stopped by some waterfalls. First was this unnamed one, and the second was this 300-meter tall Rupsei Falls. The final stop was at the historic and beautiful Marfa village. This traditional village is located at an altitude of 2,680 meters. There is a monastery at the highest point in the village, and we got some fantastic views from the top. Another traditional village worth stopping is Kagbeni, which is located between Jomsom and Muktinath. After Marfa, we enter the leeward side of the mountains, so the evergreen forests give way to this stark tundra. The change in scenery is quite dramatic here. Of course, there were Himalayan views in between all these stops. Even if you are not religious, it is worth taking the trip to Muktinath just for the views. It is the closest you will ever get to experience the Annapurna circuit from the comfort of your car. Well, it was not all that comfortable, the jeep was quite bumpy. But you know what I mean. I will leave you with some breathtaking views of Himalayas with our driver's favorite Nepali song blaring in the background. This is our hotel in Jomsom. Absolute bare bones. But that's what you can expect here. This is the room, quite Spartan, and a tiny toilet.
Good morning everyone. So it's day 5 from Nepal. We did the darshan at Muktinath today and we'll be driving back to Pokhara.
There is a seminal work in Tamil literature called the Nalayira Divya Prabandham. It's a compilation of 4,000 verses composed by 12 Vaishnava poet saints collectively known as the Alvars. They lived between the 4th and the 8th century AD. In this work, they have sung about 108 temples dedicated to Vishnu, and these are known as the 108 Divya Desam. 2 of these do not exist on earth. Vaikuntham and Tiruparkadal are in the heavens. 1 of 5 are located in India, and 1 remaining temple is this one in Muktinath. Located at an elevation of 3,762 meters, Muktinath is the highest temple on the planet. The temple is also an important Buddhist pilgrimage site. During the Jurassic Age, the Himalayas were a shallow seabed and was home to a sea creature known as the ammonite. Thanks to their shells, their fossils look strikingly similar to Sudarshan Chakra of Vishnu. Devout Hindus worship these fossils as Shaligram, a form of Vishnu. The Kali Gandaki riverbed is where you find these fossils in large numbers. Since this river originates from Muktinath, the place is considered to be an abode of Vishnu. By the way, behind the temple are these 108 Mukti Dharas, one for each Divya Desams. No, we chickened out and did not do this bath run. It was freezing cold.
Good morning. So it's day 6 from Nepal. We are in a sunrise viewpoint in Pokhara. We will be taking the flight to Lumbini today and then see Lumbini and then drive to Chitwan. So it's going to be a very long day today. Pokhara is the start point of the Annapurna treks. So it is the best place to view the range outside of the actual treks. The best viewpoint in the city is Sarangkot, the local high point. We got up at 5 a.m. today and our taxi picked us up at 5:30 and we reached Sarangkot by 6 a.m. The sunrise was supposed to be at 6:45. Pokhara had been under fog cover for the past week and no one could see the range during that time. Thankfully, today the fog seems to have cleared up a bit and we could get a glimpse of the famed Annapurna range. After breakfast at the hotel, we headed to the second biggest attraction in Pokhara, which is the Lake Feva. It is the second largest lake in Nepal after Lake Rara. It is famous for the mirror-like reflections of the Annapurna range and the bright-colored photogenic canoes. Unfortunately, it was a bit too foggy for the former, but clear enough to get some good photographs of the latter. In the middle of the lake sits an ancient Varahi temple. Varahi is a form of Devi and the consort of the Varaha avatar of Vishnu. A 25-minute flight brought us to Lumbini. It was here that Queen Maya Devi gave birth to Siddhartha Gautama in 623 BC. Siddhartha later went on to become the Buddha. This place has been in use since the 6th century BC, that is from the birth of Buddha. Emperor Ashoka had visited this place in 249 BC. He built a temple here and erected his signature Ashoka pillar. After paying our homage to Buddha, we drove to Chitwan. It took us about 5 hours to cover the 150 kilometers as the roads were in very bad condition.
We reached the Chitwan hotel late in the night, around 10 p.m. And here is the route map of the day. Remember that Pokhara Lumbini was a flight and not a drive. This is our hotel room in Chitwan. And this is the toilet.
Good morning. So it's day 7 from Nepal. We are at the Chitwan National Park and we'll be doing a safari right now and then we'll drive to Janakpur.
The safari at Chitwan was a bit of a damp squib. We were booked into one of these 10-seater camper vans with a guide whose spotting and identification skills were much worse than mine. And I usually struggle to pick a peacock in the middle of a concrete field. These vans do not venture too far into the jungle. We were seeing locals on foot all throughout the safari. As you can see from the footage, we did not see much. The only animal that we frequently ran into were the elephants. Not the wild ones, but the ones on which people sit to spot the wild ones. But there was a silver lining to all this. We could get on the road to Janakpur by noon and get there by sunset, and we got to see the famous Janaki Mandir under lights. By the way, here is the another footbridge that we ran into on our drive to Janakpur. That's today's driving route from Chitwan to Janakpur. We covered the distance in about 6 hours and we reached there around 6:30. This is our hotel room in Janakpur, Hotel Mystic Mithila. Another basic standard room. And this is the toilet.
Good morning. So it's day 8 from Nepal. We are in Janakpur and I'm standing right in front of Sita Ma Mandir. In the afternoon, we'll be taking a flight back to Kathmandu.
Janakpur is considered to be the birthplace of Sita, the heroine of one of the oldest epic on the planet, the Ramayana. Archaeologically, there is nothing here that is older than a few hundred years, far cry from the Iron Age when the ancient city of Mithila, the capital of the kingdom of Videha, existed. But everyone here is absolutely convinced that this is Sita Janmabhoomi and her Swayamvara to Rama took place next door. Who are we to argue? This majestic temple, which looks more like a fortress, was built in 1910 by Queen Vrishabhanu of Orcha state. And thanks to our short-term safari in Chitwan, we could get here in time the previous evening to see its shine under the brightly colored disco lights. The walls of the temples are adorned with Madhubani paintings. Madhubani is a local art form that developed in and named after the Madhubani district of Bihar and the larger Mithila region to which Janakpur belongs. My sister is into these art forms. I will leave her social media links below. She knows more about this art than I ever will. Right outside the temple, a Panditji caught us and gave us this tilak. என்னப்பா ஜெயஸ்ரீராம் நாங்க ஆனால் நெத்தியில் பார்த்தா திமுக உதயசூன்னு அடிச்சிட்டாங்க ஒன்றும் புரியல. We came back to Kathmandu by noon and that gave us enough time to check out the last Darbar Square in Nepal and claim bingo. On the way is this Buddha Neelkanta temple. Buddhists are convinced the main statue represents Avalokiteshvara and hence the first part of the name Buddha. The second part, Neelkanta, is a title of Shiva and the statue obviously looks like Vishnu reposing on his Seshanag. Religious syncretism at its finest. Now on to the final Darbar Square in Nepal that we had left out, Nuwakot. Prithvi Narayan Shah built most of it in the mid-18th century during his reunification of Nepal. This served as his capital and base for his final assault on Kathmandu. Unfortunately, we did not know its current status. The Darbar Square, like most others, had completely collapsed during the 2015 earthquake. The more important ones like Kathmandu, Patan and Bhaktapur were rebuilt quickly, but the ones further out like these are still under heavy scaffolding. This Bhairavi temple, located 200 meters away from the main palace, is the only building that has been fully restored. The temple was built in 1783. Shows a fully restored Nuwakot would be a fantastic place. Oh, I almost forgot. Bingo! Last night hotel in Kathmandu, Hotel Everest, Nepal. And the toilet. Thankfully, there is a dedicated shower area.
Good morning. So it's the last day from Nepal. We have our flight late in the afternoon, so we thought of covering 2 more places. We have come to Indreshwar temple in Panauti.
Today's drive was a short one, an hour and a half each way, and here is the map. Panauti means unlucky in Hindi. We really don't know why the town got this name. All we know is that this is one of the oldest towns in Nepal, having been founded by Anantamalla in the 13th century. The prime attraction here is one of the tallest pagoda-style temples in all of Nepal, the Indreshwar Mahadev temple built in 1294. One of the lesser known gems of Navari architecture. Wonderful. As this not to scale map shows, Panauti sits at the confluence of 2 rivers, Rosi and Punyamati. The ghats and the temples at the Sangam, which means confluence in Hindi, looked stunning in the morning sunlight. 9 kilometers uphill from Panauti is Namobuddha. Jataka tales contain stories about the earlier incarnations of Buddha. In one such incarnation, Buddha was a prince who chanced upon a starving tigress and her cubs. Taking pity on the cats, he sacrificed himself to feed them. This Namobuddha stupa is said to house his bones. This is one of the 3 important stupas in Nepal, the other 2 being Swayambhunath and Bodhnath. Further uphill is a 1976 Tibetan monastery. Freshly painted, this gleaming red edifice with its calm environs was the perfect place to end this wonderful trip. That's it, folks. This ends our trip to Nepal. In 9 days, we were able to experience all the shades the country had to offer. It was a wonderful trip. The only thing we missed were the marquee trails, ABC, etc. Hopefully, we can come back someday to do that. And now, Aparna will run down through the top 10 sites of the trip.
At number 10, Chitwan National Park. At number 9 would be the Maya Devi Temple in Lumbini. At number 8, the Indreshwar Mahadev Temple in Panauti. At number 7, the Feva Lake in Pokhara. At number 6, the views along the road to Muktinath. At number 5, the Patan Darbar Square. At number 4 would be the Bodhnath Stupa in Kathmandu. At number 3, the Bhaktapur Darbar Square. At number 2, the Annapurna view from Sarankot in Pokhara. Finally, at number 1 would be the Janaki Mandir in Janakpur.
We are recording our final words at the Namobuddha monastery. Okay, Aparna, what's the best experience of the trip?
So apart from being able to shop to my heart's content, I would say finishing up all the important milestones of Buddha. So this Lumbini site is the place of birth, and then we did the main sites in India. That's Bodh Gaya, where he found enlightenment, and Sarnath, where he preached his first sermon, and Kushinagar, where he attained Samadhi. So being able to finish his entire life journey was a very, very memorable experience.
This time I also did my share of shopping. There is a shoe company called Caliber, which is based in Nepal. This is not a sponsorship from Caliber, it's just a very happy customer giving them free advertisement. It's a very good shoe, it's a great walking shoe. I'm quite impressed. I would highly recommend it. Coming to the food, of course, the highlight, the best was the Takali Thali that we had everywhere. The food was wonderful. It was light, it was homemade, and we could eat that 3 times a day, every day. I haven't had better thalis in my life anywhere else in the world. And of course, momos was always there, and that filled us as snacks in between the meals. That's it, folks. Until we say hi from some other part of the world. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.